Hello, everybody. This is J.W. Najarian with On Purpose Magazine. I'm here with the famous Joe Benson. How you doing, Joe?
Thank you. Having a great time here tonight.
Yeah, you know, we're here at Barnes & Noble Bookseller in the Grove, and we're here for a very special person, Ken Scott, right?
Ken Scott, famed engineer, recording engineer, producer of some of the greatest albums ever, famed for his sound that he achieved in the studio and working with an amazing array of artists, everybody from the Beatles to David Bowie to Elton John to Supertramp to Billy Cobham to Mahavishnu Orchestra and a million others in between. And I know he's got some stories.
Well, we're here to introduce and talk about his book, Abbey Road to Ziggy Stardust, which encompasses a huge career. I think you've interviewed everybody. He seems to have recorded or produced just about everybody.
It's amazing, and for him, so much of it was he was just in the right place at the right time, he'll tell you. But if you weren't good, if you didn't have the talent in the first place, you wouldn't have been there in the first place. And learning while you're recording with the Beatles certainly was a hell of a way to start.
Yeah, not too many of those around.
Not too many. And that's an honest-to-God fact. And then how different the artists were as he went through, how much each one he had to adapt to things. He's well-known, though, for being very calm. Alan Parsons, the famed producer, also started at Abbey Road about the time that Ken was checking out of that. And he said the main thing he learned from Ken was how to stay calm under any circumstances, and it served him very well. And, Alan Parsons is a very tall individual, so if he was getting upset, that would have been something. But Ken's got some great stories and the demeanor, and it's a lot of fun playing with him.
First time you heard Supertramp, what did you think? This became one of the most distinctive recordings in all of rock and roll history. Not that you were already involved with a bunch of them, and some of them aged very well. What changed your mind about Supertramp?
Seeing them live, strangely enough, because they weren't the greatest live band to start with, but it was due to the success of Bowie and several other people I worked with. I got a phone call from A&M Records asking me to mix a track that Supertramp had recorded. It was a track called Land Cold, which I don't know if it was ever actually really issued. But I mixed it, and that was it. Then I got a phone call from A&M saying they'd like to record an album with you. I said, okay, send me some demos. And they sent me these demos, which were atrocious. There was a little bit of one verse, then it would go into a totally different song, just a bit of a chorus, and it was all over the place. And this is ridiculous. And
he's had such an illustrious career, and it's so fun to talk about because not only was he an engineer on some of the greatest albums ever, but he was also the producer of people like David Bowie and such. And I don't know if we do or not, and if we have a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for some of the engineers.
There's so much politics in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, look at some of the artists have gotten in. Really? Really? I don't know if they even have. I don't know. I suppose they might have a place for it.
Well, I think they should have a place for engineers and producers, and for people like yourself. I would say
park cars. Is that what you're saying?
Cars, yeah. No, well, people like yourself. I mean, you've interviewed just about every major classical artist out there. I'd go as far as to say you are a part of rock and roll at this point.
Thank you very much. I've been very lucky, and most of them have been on good behavior. And if they aren't, I talk really loud.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Well, you don't have just an amazing voice; you have a great style of finding the right question. I've listened to Ken speak a few times, and you just really zeroed in on some of the greatest questions.
I'm blessed with that. Of course, my father spoke a lot. Maybe that's where I got it from him. But part of interviewing is listening and thinking of things in a manner rather than what you'd want to see in People magazine or something like that. And I've always been fascinated by the creation of the music, not how many times somebody had their blood changed, although those stories, do come around. But I've always been fascinated with the way the music came about, and Ken is one of those prime subjects that was right there when things were happening.
Right.
And at no point in time with him, or most of the really, really good producers, do you get an ego back, well, this is how I felt they should sound this way, and it's not that. It's the engineering engineer capturing whatever the artist is doing. And I think he says at some point in time how George Martin, the thing he learned from George, and it took him years to realize it, was sit back and let the artist do what they're supposed to do, create. And if they get a little off one side or the other, bring them back to the center. But to have that knowledge and have this almost Zen-like state when you're working with people, although I know for a fact he works very hard to make sure the sounds are exactly as they should be. So, but we're kind of blessed to have the insight from someone.
One of the questions you asked him tonight was, when did you realize he had an ear, and what was his answer?
I didn't think he does. It doesn't, I don't look at it that way. It's just something I love doing. I don't really work for a living. Although I could have busted him on a couple of things I know were a lot of work putting up with people. We didn't talk about any lawyers tonight, did we? No, that's amazing. In the recording industry, no lawyers. So no, but there's been times where artists have.
Well, you were kind with the interview, but you were probably one of the perfect interviews, mainly because with Uncle Joe's Guide and Off the Record, and the fact that you've been working for KLOS on radio for how many years?
Well, I've been in radio for 44 years now at this point in time, and I've been out here since.
You started
1980.
when you were 6?
Yes, as a matter of fact. My voice changed, and there I was. And with the Off the Record program, I've done in-depth interviews in just about everybody there is at this point. In the books, we've covered a lot of territory as well, so it's a lot of fun. Like I say, I'm fascinated by how things came together. Not how did you feel when China Grove sold 10 million copies. It's like, where the hell is China Grove?
You know all the names, you know all the artists, you've met them, you've talked to them, you know their stories.
Might know where a couple bodies are buried. It's possible.
So that's why it was such a great interview, and we really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for stopping by and spending a minute with us. This is Uncle Joe Benson, along with J.W. Najarian for On Purpose Magazine. Thanks.